I was on a crowded bus eating a sandwich, carefully trying not to draw attention. Suddenly, the bus hit a bump, and the sandwich literally flew out of my hands and landed directly in the lap of the man across from me. He just stared at it. I panicked, reached over, grabbed the sandwich back, and muttered, "Sorry, 5-second rule." The entire bus burst into laughter. I skipped lunch that day. On a packed tram, I spotted my friend in front of me. Excited, I tapped her on the shoulder and gave her a big hug from behind. Except, it wasn't my friend. It was a random stranger who looked absolutely horrified. To make things worse, she screamed. The whole tram turned to look, and I had to awkwardly explain, "I thought you were someone else." The stranger didn't say a word, just slowly moved away and avoided eye contact the entire ride. Once I was listening to music on my headphones, nodding along, and started quietly singing. Or at least I thought it was quiet. Turns out my headphones weren't plugged in properly, so my quiet singing was basically me shouting out of tune lyrics in a dead silent bus. I only realized when everyone started clapping after the song ended. I was on a subway with my giant hiking backpack. Every time the train stopped, I'd accidentally hit someone with it while turning. At one point, I tried to apologize to a guy it smacked in the face, and while turning to apologize, I hit another person behind me. It became a chain reaction of apologies and accidental hits. By the end of the ride, the whole carriage hated me, and I stood perfectly still like a statue until my stop. On a long bus ride, I fell asleep and woke up with my head resting on a stranger's shoulder. Embarrassed, I quickly pulled away and apologized. The stranger just smiled and said, "Don't worry, you were drooling on me for about 20 minutes. The entire row was laughing. I couldn't even get off at my stop because I didn't want to walk past them. I once got on a tram during rush hour, and the doors closed on my backpack straps. I couldn't move forward or backward. Half my body was inside, the other half stuck outside. People were staring, and one guy tried to help by yanking the straps, which only made me swing back and forth like a trapped fish. The driver had to reopen the doors, and everyone clapped sarcastically as I stumbled in. I still think about it at night. On the subway, I was sitting next to a guy the first used to date, a total disaster of a relationship. I panicked and decided to fake a phone call so he wouldn't talk to me. I pulled out my phone and loudly started pretending to chat with a friend. The problem? My phone was dead, and the black screen reflected my face. Everyone around me could see I was lying, including him. Once I was on a bus and saw an empty seat with a jacket on it. Thinking someone forgot it, I moved the jacket aside and sat down. 5 minutes later, a woman came back from the driver and started yelling that I'd stolen her seat. The whole bus stared at me while I awkwardly held her jacket like a criminal holding evidence. I stood the rest of the way, clutching the jacket until she ripped it back. A crowded trolley bus braked suddenly, and I lost my balance. Instead of grabbing a pole, I fell straight into the lap of an old man. He didn't even flinch. He just looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Well, hello there." Everyone laughed so hard I wanted the earth to swallow me. I once misheard the announcement on the tram and thought I was at my stop. I confidently jumped up, said "Excuse me," and pushed through the crowd, only to realize the tram hadn't stopped yet. I stood there, swaying in the aisle, while 30 people stared at me. The guy next to me whispered, "Smooth." At a train station, I was carrying a bag full of groceries. The bag ripped open on the escalator, and all my apples started rolling down like bowling balls, knocking into people's legs. One man tried to pick one up, slipped, and nearly fell. By the time I reached the top, I had lost all my apples and gained about 50 death stares. On a night bus, I decided to watch a video on my phone. I was sure my headphones were plugged in, but they weren't. So the entire bus was suddenly blasted with the sound of a kid screaming in a meme video. People stared at me like I was insane. The bus driver actually shouted, "Turn that off." I sneezed so loudly on a crowded bus that I scared the person next to me, who screamed. Their scream scared the next person, who dropped their coffee. The coffee spilled, and someone else slipped in it. All because of my one sneeze. By the time it was over, everyone was glaring at me like I was the villain of the day. I was exhausted on a late train and fell asleep. When I woke up, I realized I was hugging the person next to me like a teddy bear. To make it worse, the stranger was wide awake and just letting it happen. I quickly pulled away, but the rest of the carriage was already smirking. On a bus, a woman struggled with groceries and asked if I could hold her baby for a minute. I agreed, feeling proud to help. Then another woman turned around and shouted, "Why are you holding my child?" Turns out two mothers with strollers had been standing next to each other, and I had picked up the wrong baby. I was boarding a crowded bus and trying to squeeze through the aisle with my giant backpack. Every time I moved, the straps would smack someone in the face. At one point, I hit 3 people in a row and apologized so many times that I basically turned into a walking sorry machine by the time I reached my seat. Everyone was avoiding eye contact like I was a hazard. A man near me was having the loudest, most dramatic phone conversation I've ever witnessed. He was arguing about who knows what is something about his cat's Instagram account, and every word echoed through the train car. I tried to ignore it, but then he started pacing and gesturing wildly. At one stop, he accidentally slammed his hand into a pole, and the whole train car gasped. During rush hour, the train jolted unexpectedly, and I stumbled into someone. Somehow, we ended up holding hands for balance, moving in sync like some awkward dance routine. People around us started laughing, and one guy started clapping along to our performance. I got off at the next stop, blushing so hard I think I left a permanent red mark on my face. I bought an ice cream cone before getting on a bus. One bump later, the ice cream flew off my cone and landed directly on the lap of a woman sitting across from me. I froze. She froze. Then, without saying a word, she picked up the ice cream and ate it. The rest of the bus just watched in disbelief. I spent the entire ride apologizing and promising to buy her another one. I was standing on a trolley bus holding onto a pole. The trolley bus jerked, and I accidentally punched the person in front of me through the pole. They yelled, I apologized, and then the bus jerked again, and somehow my elbow hit another passenger. By the time the ride ended, I had unintentionally created a domino effect of angry stares. I was extremely tired and dozed off on the train. When I woke up, my head was resting against the shoulder of a very tall stranger. I panicked, tried to slide away quietly, but ended up bumping their chin with my nose. The stranger muttered ouch, and I spent the next 20 minutes pretending nothing had happened while silently dying of embarrassment. A baby near me started crying, but not just crying, full-on screaming opera-level wails. The parents were trying everything, but nothing worked. Suddenly, the baby turned to me mid-cry and made direct eye contact, as if challenging me to fix the situation. I had no idea what to do, so I just awkwardly hummed to it. The baby stopped crying, then started laughing at me. A tourist on the train was trying to figure out the route using a giant fold-out map. He completely blocked it all while twisting, spinning, and unfolding the map like it was a magical scroll. People were bumping into each other, muttering, and one old lady actually tripped over the map. I offered help, but he just looked at me and said, I must figure this out alone. I was holding a cup of coffee on the subway. Another passenger bumped into me. Coffee spilled. Then it dripped onto someone else's bag, who accidentally knocked into another person. Within seconds, 3 people were yelling, 2 were apologizing, and one guy just stood frozen, coffee all over his shoes. I quietly tried to blend into the floor. A man on the bus realized he had lost his ticket right as the conductor approached. He started patting himself down, dropping coins, and knocking over his bag. Everyone was watching, and at one point he shouted, I think the bus ate my wallet. The conductor just sighed and waved him off, but the whole bus had witnessed the public meltdown.